All right, welcome to the Krueg Show, bright and early on a Saturday morning, 18 minutes late, which could be 2 minutes early if you think that you're always running 20 minutes late, or it could be 18 minutes late if you're always start on time. But either way, it is 9:18 on the West Coast, 18 minutes after noon on the East Coast. Welcome to the Pig and a Pickle Krueg Show. I am Larry Krueger. That is the coach. In our regular time slot, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. We're also brought to you by New York Style Italian Sausage and, of course, Marin Auto Glass, marinautoglass.com. We're also brought to you by Mojo Fantasy and Underdog Fantasy. Check the link in the description. Click the promo code Krueg, Krueg, and they'll match you up to $100. The Niners climb the mountain, beat the Seahawks in Seattle, and next the rivalry that we're all waiting for, Niners and Eagles, a week from tomorrow in Philadelphia. We got a lot to cover here as we only have a limited time today. But, Coach, good to see you, man. How are you?
What's good, Larry? Good to be back. Niners are moving in the right direction, and right now, we don't got to wait to the end of the season to see where we are. It's coming in less than 10 days. This is it. This is the showdown of all showtowns. This is the showdown, baby. It's time.
Yeah, and I was not. There were a lot of people that really were like, "Hey, man, they got these 2 games with Seattle," and I just never looked at Seattle as a major threat to the 49ers just because they handled them last year. They beat them 3 times last year, and I thought Seattle had a pretty good offseason, but, they've lost some guys, and they just lost Kenneth Walker, and, it's like I wasn't expecting Seattle to have some awesome effort in this last game. I thought they would fight. I thought they would claw. I was a little surprised it was 24-3 at halftime and that the Niner offense was just going through them like a hot knife through butter. But then Pete, got the guys in the locker room, and whatever he said, he got them to kind of fire up. They had a big third quarter. 49ers got the touchdown they needed late to put the thing on ice. But to me, it was much more of a one-sided game than even – I thought the Niners were better than Seattle. I didn't think they were that much better than Seattle. But what did you get? What did you take away from Thursday night?
That we have a whole nother level that we haven't even seen yet on this team. Are we ready to exonerate the defense and Coach Wilks alike for them not necessarily needing additions, but for them to just find their groove, right? There's a couple of things that I like that I've been seeing from the defensive side of the ball. We can get to the offense. We can get to the offense in due time, especially Brock, because I've been thrilled with his performances. But specifically on defense, I just want to talk about a couple of things that we've been seeing as of late over the last 3 weeks span to really show proof of concept of where we are as a team. Number one, the benching of Isaiah Oliver was huge. All right. Just taking him off the field, Larry. Automatic.
We're not putting it all on him. So if anybody who's it's not like we're saying, hey, Oliver was the only problem, but he's not gone. Positive, and he's not gone.
Yeah, he's not gone. We're gonna see him again, but let's just see if we get to see him on the field in more advantageous scenarios for him. Right? I feel like there's a little bit of both. There was more of he wasn't necessarily what we needed at that position, and being a new front, being in a new defense, being in a new atmosphere, there were some things that were asked of him that, let's say, pretty much weren't fair to him as far as his skill set is concerned. So we're just going to be balanced in that way. But moving off of Isaiah Oliver, you could have stuck anybody in there, but really what I see the genius in this move was kind of repurposing what you already have, trusting Ambry Thomas and taking him and putting him on the outside and bumping Diamondor Lenoir down into that nickel spot. It has made our defense tremendously sticky inside near the seams and closer to the line of scrimmage. I think I've heard this mentioned before, but one of the things that I mentioned yesterday about Diamondor Lenoir being in the nickel position is that he speeds our team up for the interior on the run game, the short pass game, the intermediate throw game, spacing concepts, and the like that teams love to try to kill us by death by 1,000 cuts because they understand that they really can't go brute force and just drop it back because they'll be playing right into our hands as far as our defensive line and our pass rush. Speaking of pass rush, we're getting home with the pass rush with being able to mix up fronts, dropping defensive linemen on downs, confusing quarterbacks. You saw the first sign of that against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence wasn't necessarily playing bad. He was confused, right? He did not see the field, okay?
Right.
That's good looks from the defensive line. That's Steve Wilks mixing it up. Steve Wilks, me and you, it's time for us to bend the knee, Larry. It's 3 games in. I'm subject to change my opinion with new information. Steve Wilks coming down onto the sideline clearly has made an impact on this defense. We got to own it. Okay. It's galvanizing the team. The guys seem a lot more juiced up. And to be honest with you, let's face it. Only the defensive players aren't the only players that are getting a shot in the arm from this, but the whole team is, right? We saw this before with Robert Saleh being on the field, with DeMeco Ryans being on the field. That's not Kyle's modus operandi. He's not a rah-rah guy, but you definitely do need, it seems as though that this team definitely needs that wet nurse, so to speak, to be on the sideline, to be the emotional leader, to be the emotional polarizing point for the team. That again falls on Coach Wilks in this defense. The pass rush is actually getting home. We're getting sacks. The defense is actually moving faster. So for me, in the 3 weeks that I've seen, let's step away. This is how strongly I feel about what we've been seeing on defense. Let's take away the 3 losses, right? Arguably the worst our defense has looked all season in that 3-week span, right? Our defense is
definitely. I don't know about the Cleveland game, but definitely
Cincinnati.
The last 2, they got carved. They got carved up on. They couldn't get off the field on 3rd down. They lost 3rd down against Minnesota, and then Cincinnati was easily the worst
bad.
The defenses looked.
Right, but even in those games, right? Those were our 3 worst games. Now let's go back and look at the 5-0 stretch. Even in the 5-0 stretch, I'd take what we've seen from our defense in the last 3 weeks over the concurrent weeks that we've seen, the 5-game winning streak included. They play with effort. They're closing. Also, playing man, okay? Travarius Ward, putting him in a position where he can be confident, making him the guy that we spent that money for him, right? Also, bringing in Jair Brown and hiding him, protecting him, putting him in advantageous positions to go after the quarterback, staying out of the seams, not being able to get singled out by Jair Brown, which is something that we're going to have to pay attention to coming up in the next game for Philadelphia. But first game out, you got to love it. You got to love how he protected the young guy.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of good things on the defense. As far as Wilks, I would first of all, I actually talked to Hufanga, and Hufanga said that Wilks on the sideline was something that helped the defense. So I'll, just on that alone, I've got to defer a little bit to it. But we also have to point out that coincided with the addition of Chase Young and Oliver coming off the field. Both were major defensive pluses. I kind of wonder, Coach, if this is all about the quarterbacks. I mean, let's go through this real quick. Kenny Pickett, week 1. That's the one good quarterback they've really beaten is Stafford, and it was close. And Stafford threw for a bunch of yards, and the Niners had to adjust at halftime to Puka Nacua. He didn't even have Cooper Kupp, and he still played pitch and catch all day against the Niner defense. Yes. Daniel Jones, Joshua Dobbs, Dak Prescott, whatever you think about him, he didn't look good in that game. Phillip Walker, they lost to Phillip Walker, but then they get the veteran in Cousins. He carved him. Then they get Burrow. He absolutely dominated.
Yeah.
Then they were too much for Trevor Lawrence. Baker, is not horrendous, but he's not great. Geno, the same. So I guess I got to see them they've beaten one top-tier quarterback in my mind all year, and it was Stafford. Now they get Hurts next week. Couple weeks later, they've got Lamar. and we'll see. We're going to see if they can beat a top tier quarterback, because this year, outside of Stafford, and we all know this is not a vintage Rams team on either side of the ball.
Right.
And it's not, and he didn't have his number one receiver. They basically have not faced hardly any good quarterbacks this year, and the two veteran, good quarterbacks that were ready and able and willing that they did face carved them up and took their lunch. So I'm eager to see, can the Niner defense beat a top tier quarterback, and we're going to find out this week against Hurts. But the other two things that also stood out, Coach, was just that since they added Chase Young, man, Eric Armstead and Javon Hargrave have come to life. And suddenly that four-man line, as you said, is getting home. So that's one thing. And then on the back end, I kind of look at Ambry Thomas as like, your wife goes to the store and buys you a shirt. You love it. You wear it once, you put it in the laundry, it gets recycled up. It's in your closet, but it's kind of close to another shirt, and you don't wear it for like 6 months, and you loved it. Then you're thumbing through your closet one day and you're like, man, do I have anything to wear today? And you find that shirt. You're like, I love that shirt. Man, I forgot I even owned that shirt. I only wore it that one time, and it got cycled up here in my closet. Ambry Thomas kind of reminds me of that shirt that you bought that you really liked, and then all of a sudden it got buried in your closet, and then all of a sudden one day you just kind of stumble on it and be like, oh yeah, I got this shirt. I got to wear this shirt. I loved it. And they put him back out there, and you know what? I mean, to me, it's a lot of the NFL stuff's about speed, and Ambry's so much faster than Oliver, and he essentially plays stronger against the run, so he's really better in both phases, run and pass. And now here we are headed to Philly, and you've discovered that Luter looks like a tremendous athlete. Womack's back. Jair Brown's now playing because of the injury to Afanga. And Ambry's coming off of, I thought that interception was his best play of his career. I thought that was an amazing play, especially not how that he got it, but how cleanly he got it. I think the 49ers suddenly have a little bit more speed, athleticism, and depth on the back end, and they've got a real front four on the front end, and the bye week seems to have freshened up Warner and Greenlaw. Suddenly their defense on all three levels looks more formidable.
Yeah. And also we've gotten a little bump in the teams and the quarterbacks that we've seen. I will say this, for the team that we just saw last week in Taylor Lockett, DK Metcalf, and what's the new kid?
Jackson Smith.
I
can't pronounce the last name.
Yeah.
The Jigba, I believe.
Njigba. These boys ain't AJ
He made
Brown.
An amazing catch, by the way.
Yes, but these boys ain't AJ Brown, Slim Reaper, and Julio Jones. They're not. They're just, it's a whole different level. Now, to their credit, everything matters on the same level. Jalen Hurts, I'm really not that impressed with Jalen Hurts as a quarterback, honestly.
What don't you like?
I just feel as though that Jalen Hurts turns into a completely different quarterback when football has to be played, right? That's the difference between, and let's go ahead, let's do it now. We might as well. The difference between Jalen and Brock, in my eyes, is that you get on the field with your requisite skill set. Once you're past the evaluation period, you got what you got. All you're working on is to get better at what you have, right? So Brock, he has the limited arm strength. We got to work on Brock getting a better arm. Brock, sometimes he pushes the offense when he feels as though that he needs to make a play. And he can find himself in those situations like the pick six situation that happened last week, right? So we know the devil we know versus the devil we don't. We understand our little issues with Brock, but that pales in comparison to the issues that Jalen Hurts has, in my opinion, right? When Jalen Hurts gets pressured, I feel like every attribute that he has, athleticism, strong arm, patience, poise, all of that completely flies out of the window once he gets pressured. When he gets pressured and he's under duress, he completely turns into an athlete. And that's where you see the frustration routinely on the sidelines of Eagles games, where receivers start to feel alienated and marginalized outside of the offense when Jalen wants to make a play, because the only person that he seems to be able to look for when he's under duress is running backs and tight ends, and he barely gets the ball out with accuracy. So Jalen has a little bit of yips in him as well. When he gets pressured, he turns into more of a wounded animal, right? That's kind of a term that we use in the scouting world, Larry. Like, he's just wounded. He's completely reactionary, and he's really going for broke. He forgets that he's the quarterback of the team. And those are the issues that you see with the Eagles, where, yes, they are a very talented team from top to bottom. Make no mistake about it. Outside of the Ravens, this is the most talented team we're going to see this year, right? However,
you think the Ravens are more talented
than the Eagles?
Than the Eagles?
Yes.
See, yes. I would probably give the Eagles that, but it's close.
Lamar, man.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts is not nowhere close to Lamar.
I like Hurts. I mean, it's fun. It's so funny. I think most people thought, well, you were going to argue for Hurts and I was going to argue for Purdy. But in reality, I like Hurts. And my whole point last year was I see tons of similarities between Hurts and Purdy in that same size guys, both very devout Christians, both very humble leaders. I mean, you had Sirianni trying to kind of throw it on the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and you had Jalen going, hey, bro, relax, calm down. Like, Hurts is like the calm one, and Sirianni's like the emotional one. And, in that relationship, but I see a lot of similarities. I think Hurts is stronger legs, and so that tush push is just he makes that unstoppable. I think Brock throws with a little bit better anticipation, but I think they're both the kinds of guys that couldn't do it all by themselves, but if you put them surrounded with a good cast, like Hurts has got a great line. Brock's got tremendous weapons. Hurts has tremendous weapons. Both of them have tremendous defense. They're leaders. They're humble, quiet leaders. They're not big stature quarterbacks. They both can extend plays and make plays. The thing I love about Hurts, Coach, is just that he seems like he's very calm. He doesn't seem like you can speed him up and rattle him, where other quarterbacks can get sped up. Even better quarterbacks than him can get sped up and bothered. He seems so difficult to bother. And I don't, all I would say is, as far as MVP, I'd probably vote for Lamar, but Purdy has a better, right? I'm looking at their stats side by side. Purdy's 70%, Hurts is 68.5, so 69%. So they're right there. Hurts has got 15 touchdowns. Purdy's got 18 touchdowns. Hurts has 9 picks. Purdy's got now 6 picks. I guess maybe what did Purdy throw a touchdown? Yeah, Purdy threw what, 1 touchdown? He's got 19. Yeah, so he's got 19 touchdowns, 6 picks. Hurts is 15 touchdowns, 9 picks. Purdy's 9.7 yards per attempt. Hurts is 7.6 yards per attempt. Hurts is 11.1 yards per completion. Purdy's 13.8 yards per completion. So I think Purdy's stats are a little bit better. I don't think either necessarily is gonna win the MVP. I just think Lamar or Mahomes will probably get it. And I know people have suggested McCaffrey, but I think it would take a Herculean, or even Myles Garrett. I think both those guys would have to be like so far and away out front before they'd give it to him. It's become kind of a quarterback award. But I love Hurts and I love Purdy. I mean, I love the Niners have Purdy, but if they didn't have Purdy, man, I would love to have Hurts. I really would, because there's a toughness, there's a humbleness, there's a mobility. I don't think he's the best thrower I've ever seen, but he's got requisite, throwing ability on all phases. So I like Hurts. I think he's a winner. I liked him at Alabama, but I didn't see this. I didn't see this kind of growth. he's far better today than he was in college, in my opinion.
All right, I hear that, but I just ain't buying it. I'm sorry. If I I wouldn't take Jalen Hurts over Brock Purdy. I wouldn't take Jalen Hurts in this offense over Brock Purdy, and that's really where I think we kind of fall in love with quarterbacks, right? We all love them as models, but we forget the fact that they're all wearing tailored clothes, right? So Brock is a tailored fit for the Niners. That's why he looks so good here, right? Jalen is a tailored fit in Philly. That's why he looks so good there. But you want to talk about raw quarterback, just what you can do with them. Ain't no way in hell that I would take Jalen Hurts in what we do offensively for Brock Purdy. Can you imagine how many times Jalen Hurts would break the pocket and just take off? How many plays would never see their true fruition because he wouldn't be able to go through all of the progressions that Kyle has Brock through? Then on top of it, Brock has to be intelligently contemporaneous. It's not good enough for you to just have the athleticism to run around the field and to make a play on your own. Brock actually tries to make plays with teammates in mind, right? He really elevates everybody around him. When I see Jalen Hurts play, I do see the poise. I do see the stoic attitude. But then I also see that shit fly out the window when that offensive line ain't letting them bake cakes back there. You got to also understand that we're still talking about Brock and Jalen, and I will always call it the way I see it, not the way it's supposed to be told. And the way that I see it is that even with Brock having the bump, if you just want to go with raw stats and stats is your thing, you can go with Brock. He has a bump. But then if you start looking at the teams and you understand that Jalen Hurts literally has 5 Peterbilt trucks in front of him blocking, all right, where he gets to sit back there and leisurely go through his progressions, which he does slowly, by the way. Then you see what Brock has to do with our makeshift offensive line, and you definitely you tip the cap to Brock for what he has to do in front of this offensive line, right? Honestly, I'm tired of people saying this, but this really isn't a quarterback-friendly offense. If you understand how much Brock has to do for Kyle to read all of these routes, to find the open guy, it's the calculus that he has to get through to get to Kyle's plays to make him look good is why Brock is special. Brock is being able to handle the manic side of what this offense has, and he's spitting it out and making it look palpable. He's making it look normal on the field. He's taking a offense that doesn't have a 2-minute offense, that doesn't have a true step back game, and he's making it serviceable. We got to start understanding that this kid he's a little bit more of a stopgap. He's kind of made perfect for Kyle and what we do. I don't think there's another quarterback that Kyle could bring in and they'd be able to do what Brock is doing just because of how many failures we've seen with this offense.
It's interesting. That's interesting. If they flip teams, who would have more success?
What do you mean?
If Brock were the Eagles quarterback and the Niners quarterback was Hurts, you think Brock would be better than Hurts? If Brock
had that offensive line, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. But Brock's doing this behind the 28th rated pass block win rate O line right now.
A.J. Brown, let's just talk facts. I love our team, but we got to also understand that there's a special way how we get it done, right? We're not traditional, okay? So, but if Brock had A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, okay, and Slim Reaper, and they actually had an offense that understood his limitations with his arm, i.e. meaning that they weren't just making him go back there and just hurl the ball all over the field. They really played within his skill set. Brock would kill with that Eagles team because he wouldn't be running for his life. Like
that might be the game plan for the Niners in this offseason is go invest a couple of high picks in an offensive lineman or two.
Yeah. So, for what we've seen with the offense, right, with how this offense is called, right, Larry, the offense ain't sound. Let's be real. There's tenets of this offense that don't exist, that exist in every offense across the land, right? The fact that we don't have those things shows that we are tilted towards our MO. We are more galvanized towards our identity than we are covering all the boxes offensively. Now, you can get caught. There's two sides to that sword. You can get caught up the river with some injuries, right? Teams don't believe you can run the ball. They can start playing dishonest football against you, right? But for what we do right now, we're not finding a quarterback that does what Brock does. Not with Kyle. Not being able to, not being like, even think about this way. Brock had
Kyle's tough on quarterbacks.
very tough. Let's not say tough. He's very unfair on quarterbacks. And
he's got very high standards on the quarterback. He really does.
Yes.
And he puts, and look at the way Kyle handled the offensive line this year. Did he leave Kittle into block a lot? No. He said, you know what? I'm going to put it on my quarterback behind a line that's just okay to make all the decisions. They didn't help. They got 5 out in the pattern, and Brock said he preferred it, but I mean, it's also one less guy potentially in blocking.
Remember, we talked about this in a couple of shows ago, Larry, and I told you, I said, Brock has the ability, or Brock is leaning towards the position where he may expose Kyle. Remember, we talked about that conversation, and we talked about
he's going to eliminate the excuse. I mean, you can't sit there and be like, it's the quarterback, because he's going to play at a pretty high level.
But now we're even starting to see positions where Kyle is starting to have to bend the knee. The last play, the last throw that Brandon Ayuk made, that Brock threw to Brandon Ayuk, Brock was not supposed to throw that ball. He was supposed to throw the ball to the flat. Okay, that was a easy play. Brock saw that and pushed it down the field, right, and gave it to Brandon Ayuk for the score. All right, now as a coach and as a player,
not to interrupt, I think it was designed right for Ayuk to pull the coverage towards him. I think that's what Kyle thought he was going to get. He just thought that would pull the coverage to Ayuk, and that the underneath would be the gimme throw. And Brock said, "I'm sticking it in there.
Fuck that, I'm throwing it right anyway."
Yeah,
dotted him. You know what I'm saying? And for me, that's more along the lines of where those stories are going to start becoming more and more commonplace, and we're going to start to understand that it ain't the offense, it's the player, right? It ain't the plays, because whatever Brock sees, if he feels as though he can get it there, he's gonna do that. Can you say that about Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is Sirianni the guy who devises all their plays even?
No, he's not even that guy. Their team isn't even built that way. You know what I'm saying? When they get stagnant on offense, you can tell that there's a clear bottleneck on the sidelines. Players get frustrated. They start arguing with each other. There's a real process issue with their offense, with their offensive process. I'm telling you, it happens every game. Just watch. When they start struggling, they start arguing with each other on the sideline. And Sirianni, who he's always in the camera, I'm Suge Knight. Sirianni is like Diddy, all in the videos.
All up in those videos.
Dancing all in the video. Want to be, you know what I'm saying? Want to be on the track. Oh, that's who Sirianni is. And when they're struggling, it's very clear that there's an issue, because all of that fake bravado, all of that bullshit, it washes away, and it's clear. So that's just what it is, man.
It's so funny because I just can't stand Sirianni. I mean, it's like his mugging. I've never seen coaches mug for the cameras in game ever. I don't think I've ever seen coaches talk as much trash as that guy. He just seems like the hardest guy to like. Like if we went on a cross country trip, we'd be throwing hands before we got out of the state of California. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's just like, he just seems like the kind of guy that you just want to beat up.
Let's say it. Coach Sirianni has a punchable face.
He just has no tact. He has no tact either.
He's obnoxious.
He's obnoxious. He's that guy that you just say, dude, you say one more thing, I'm going to crush you. And then he says one more thing.
One more thing.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you guys are, you're throwing each other over tables. Yeah. I'd love to see the Niners roll right and just, run a play and just run out of bounds and take him out. Out it would be great. I'd love to see him get rolled up on the sideline.
We mentioned this on the show the other day with Grant, Larry. But the reason why this one is going to be juicy is because the Eagles, they can't fake like they don't care. Even them, the win we didn't really give them the satisfactory of that win because they're still saying to themselves, we won, but these motherfuckers are still walking around here acting like they didn't lose because we knocked out their quarterback. Even the Eagles, in their mind, after beating the Chiefs, even the Eagles know that they got to win this game. They got to win this game.
Are the Eagles, was the Eagles' big game the Kansas City game, and this is our big game? Or is this as big a game for the Eagles as it is for the Niners?
Honestly, customarily, I would say that it would be bigger for us because we lost, right? But nah, that's the problem.
You think they're pissed?
Yeah, they were chirping back. They feel like they honestly,
their media's pissed.
Yes, they feel like we did not give them their just due, right? They're Jordan and we're Detroit, and we walked past and didn't shake hands after losing. Even though they won, they feel slighted. They feel like they did not get respected. And that's how they feel when they play us. And they also believe that we're not as good as we think we are, right? Who do you think you are to question a win that we had over your quarterback, who you guys think is the next coming of whoever you guys had in the past? And then all of a sudden our win isn't validated. And then we went to the Super Bowl. And then during the Super Bowl press run, we got to hear about you guys chirping about how the loss definitely wasn't the right thing that happened. And you guys can't wait to see us. But the Eagles, they want to see us.
It's a familiar narrative if you know your Niner playoff history, because many Niner fans felt like the Niners were better in 1990 than the New York Giants, but Leonard Marshall knocked out Joe. There were Niner fans that felt like, the Niners were going back to back, or at least were going to win a title. They hadn't gone back to back. They won in 84. They lost in 85 to the Bears or to the Giants in the playoffs, but they lost in 86 to the Giants, I believe, as well. And I think there were a lot of Niner fans that felt like, hey, Jim Burt doesn't knock out Joe. Maybe it's a different story. So now here we are. It's, years later, and Niners fans are going, hey, if you didn't knock out Purdy, and not just Niner fans, Niner players are saying, hey, if you didn't knock out Purdy, we feel like we're going to win that game. Also, it came in the sixth play. So the game was a totally new game at that point. It was anybody's ball game when Purdy went out. So that's a big part of it. If the Niners were down 21-0, maybe they wouldn't.
I'm on this side. I'm sorry for cutting you off, Larry.
No, go ahead.
Because I'm hyped, man. This is you don't feel it, man. This is like we've been waiting all year for this one. All year. These are the cocksuckers who ended our season. It's going down, Larry. It's going to be down.
I mean, this is going to be the biggest week of the year media-wise. I'm going to dial up some I got to get my man Ike up all night. I'm going to have him on the show. Jody Mack. It's going to be quite a week this week for Niners Eagles dialogue on this channel and your channel and every other channel probably. Get ready for this one.
Dude, this feels like a heavyweight fight, man. This don't even feel like football.
Well,
this feels like boxing.
And the Niners,
it's time.
It's like the Niners got to have it, because if here's the thing. Even if the Niners win this game, they still very well could be back in Philly for the NFC Championship game very easily, because if Philly's going to have to lose at least one more time, I would say, if you really wanted to say what's it going to take for the 49ers to host the NFC Championship game at Levi's, I think the Niners have to win this game. The Eagles probably have to lose to Buffalo, and I think the Eagles have to lose one more than that, because I don't think the Niners are going to run the table. I think there's a very good chance the Niners lose to Baltimore. So if the Niners really want to host the NFC Championship game, they're going to have to beat Philly for sure, and they're probably going to have to get at least two more losses from Philly, and Philly's only got one loss right now, and it's almost December. So it's uphill sledding, and the game is so vital because I think the 49ers have some doubt whether they can beat Philly in Philly, despite all the bravado. And so they got to prove it. They're going to have to prove it to themselves, not just the Eagles, not just the public. They're going to have to prove it to themselves that they can beat Philly in Philly before they're going to roll in there with total confidence. They can say they're confident. I don't buy it. You're not confident until you can actually prove that you can do something. Let me ask you this one, because the coach, this is a super that we've gotten here. Elite Archer says, Coach, Why can't the national neighbors experts or national neighbors experts see what you are saying about Brock and the degree of difficulty he faces with the O line?
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
what do you think about the national narrative? I mean,
Well, also because
Shannon
people don't
Sharp
watch
was
us.
burying him. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I don't know if you saw that commentary.
Well, he's
It was
got
almost like he didn't watch the game, the Tampa
honestly,
game.
and that's the thing, man. Like when you look at that stuff from like the glossy perspective, I mean, you got to understand that these guys are their job is to talk like that about every team. So you have to know that they're full of shit on some level, right?
Because you can't watch every game.
You can't watch every game, right?
Right.
So if they're talking in granularity about a certain team, then they're gonna show holes in their logic and in their knowledge base because we watch this team relentlessly.
Right. We're watching the game 3 times. They may not even be watching the highlights.
Exactly. So
we're always reading a box score.
We're always going to see a gap, right? We're always going to catch those gaps when national media starts talking about our team. Also, geographically, where we are. I'm on the East Coast, but out in the West Coast, due to the time difference, West Coast teams don't really get a lot of love the way they should, especially West Coast football. There's that. Now that we're done with the excuses, the facts is that people look at our identity as a team and they automatically put 2 and 2 together. They think, oh, this is a running football team. So they must have a great offensive line, right? They must be really good up front. That's how they're running the ball. They got Christian McCaffrey. He's an MVP candidate. They must be road graders up front, but they really don't understand how our team is built. They don't understand the scheme in which our team employs offensively and how we get the ball down the field through the air. So what happens is that this is why I want Brock to be elevated. All right. I want Brock to be elevated because it takes Kyle out of that position. Okay. You should not, no team wins. Even the last dynasty we had outside of the Chiefs were the Patriots. And the Patriots had a duo in a great head coach and a great quarterback. But even Bill Belichick took a backseat to Tom Brady. That's just the game. That's the game, okay? The head coach can't be the story, all right? If the head coach is the story, then we're not winning. It's just the truth, man. And what I love about Brock being here is that he's enough character-wise. He's enough football-wise. He's enough money-wise. They can't go through the back door and say he's too expensive, okay? He's enough respect-wise in the locker room. He's got the cachet. Publicly, Kyle's got to move the fuck out of the way. He's got to let this kid take over the team. We got to have a quarterback to take over the team because that's the way we're going to win. Okay. So what happens is that you get teams who they think that we have these beautiful players on our team and that we're just juggernauts on offense. And a lot of that comes from the fact that they think that we have a mad scientist as a head coach. And he does need to get out of the way. It's time for us to traditionally win football games. And that's why I'm glad that Brock is here. That's why I wanted Trey to start. Because I knew that at the end of the day, he's got a shit to get off the pot. And he's not going to be able to use this, I was in the lab trying to get this stuff together excuse. No, you got a quarterback. Oh, we like the quarterback? Now your ass is gone. That's where we are. I love where we are right now.
I mean, the only thing I'll say about Kyle is there is some true genius in some of his play designs. Look at how about the touchdown pass to McCaffrey 2 games ago where he slipped through the A gap and was just wide open. They got him in motion going to the left, and then at the snap, he reverses field, dips through the A gap, uses the trash as basically as a pick, and winds up on the right offensive right side, wide freaking open. That was genius play design. And there have been more than a dozen plays that I can think of this year where I thought, wow, that was some great play design.
And I agree with you, Larry. That was beautiful.
You got to give Kyle his on some level. He does dial up some beautiful plays, though.
Larry,
he really does.
I get that, Larry. I get that. But a coach's true job is to discover and uncover. That's it. Discover the guy who can get it done and uncover his skill set so he can go out and do his job. When I will start being impressed with this offense, not when I keep seeing all of these great gadget plays and all of these beautifully designed plays that get guys wide open. I'm going to be impressed with this offense when I see Brock say, check, 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 check. Can throw that out. I want this. When I see Brock taking control of the offense at the line of scrimmage, then I'll be impressed. Then I will say, oh, shit. We got a man in the room. We got a man in the room. This is his offense. He's running what he likes. Okay. Kyle's consulting this guy. Okay. When I see that, I'll be impressed. Then I'll say, okay, we got a real team. Until then, Kyle's hands are still all over this offense. Brock is enough to get him out of the way, though.
They're scoring a lot of points. I mean, I don't know, they've scored 37 times or whatever this year. They do have a great weaponry, but their offensive line's pretty I don't even know if I'd call it mediocre. It's Trent and some questions. Though I'll say this, I loved what I saw in this last game from Banks. I don't know if Banks was getting tired, but man, in this last game, Coach, Banks just seemed energetic and active and almost hyperactive for a 320-pound man. I love the left side of that line in this game. This last game, the Niner left side of their line between Banks and Williams just looked absolutely monster. Now, if they can get the right side, what did you think of Feliciano in for Burford at right guard? Would you like to see that full time? Should they share? What would you like to see at right guard going forward?
I don't like rotating offensive linemen. I do believe offensive line is one of the few positions where you can lose your job to injury, right? Because if it's working, right? You can't play around with O-line. He is an upgrade. He's not perfect. John Feliciano is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but he is an upgrade. He's an upgrade over Spencer Burford. And I like the way he's been playing thus far. He only played one game at right guard for us. We got to see it some more. He definitely did have a lot of plays. Where he lost on one-on-ones in pass protection. So he's not necessarily perfect. He's not necessarily perfect in the pass game, but he's a bigger body. He's stronger than Spencer Burford. As we talked before, when he initially got on and he played, I think he played left guard his first game in. He just has better spatial awareness. He knows how to stay in phase with the offensive linemen in their combo blocks and scoop blocks on the backside. So yeah, John Feliciano is an upgrade, but I don't want to, he's an upgrade in the same way Ambry Thomas is an upgrade, right? Like, got their struggles, right? Not perfect, but damn sure better than what they were backing up. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's stronger, but he might be functionally stronger. You know what I mean? Burford is probably, if they both were in the gym, I think Burford probably outlifts him, but he's functionally stronger because he knows how to use his body.
He plays with more strength.
I mean, he's a veteran. He's a veteran. He's a technician. Yeah. I mean, we got this one from Quincy Jacinto who's asking me, Krueg, please answer if the tush push is unstoppable. Why can't we teach one of our running backs to take the snap and run that play?
You got to add a personnel.
Tush push appears to be unstoppable. Coach, what do you think on the tush push? Why is the Eagles' version of it seemingly unstoppable? And in a copycat league, why has nobody been able to replicate it with anywhere close to the success?
Because it's a talent. It's a talent situation. It doesn't have anything to do with
whose talent?
The Eagles.
Kelsey, Hurts,
they have
Dickerson.
Yeah. I mean, you got a powerlifting running back who squats 600 plus. Okay. You've got the
quarterback.
Quarterback. Sorry. Yeah.
Arguably looks like a running back.
Exactly. You got a powerlifting quarterback. Exactly. Who lifts 600 plus pounds, squats 600 plus pounds. You've got a road grading offensive line. You got two big tight ends on the inside. And just a lot of people don't have that. Could we replicate the tush push? No. All right. We can't even replicate the 4th and 1 with Jake Brindle getting blown up against the Cincinnati Bengals in the first play of the game, in the first series of the game. So, nah.
Here's the question I would have about the tush push. It's not at first, it may have been taking people by surprise. Now it's no longer taking people by surprise. They know it's coming, and they still can't stop it. So I understand that if the Niners took, let's just say for the sake of conversation, the Niners took Purdy off the field and said, McCaffrey, you're the quarterback. You're going to be the tush push guy. Or Juszczyk, you're the new quarterback. You're going to take the snap.
Jordan Mason.
I get it. There's two ways to do the quarterback sneak. There's the everybody in the building knows it, and they don't know it's coming. And if they don't know it's coming, they got to be a little bit more spread out, and they can't be all there in the A gap. But the Eagles do this when everybody and their brother in the upper deck know they're going to do it, and they keep having success with it. So I guess my question would be,
it really is just they just have a scrum, you know.
Could the Niners copy it and just take the quarterback out of it and just go with Juszczyk and a couple of backup offensive linemen in the running back spots and snap it to Juszczyk, and then just have, let's just say Feliciano starts, right? So you bring in Burford and whoever your other backup offensive lineman is that's strong. You put him in the backfield. You snap the ball to the quarterback, Juszczyk, your fullback, and then you just push him from behind. We saw Banks push. Forget who it was. It might have been Purdy, or it might have been a receiver in the back in this last game. But why not try to replicate that in short yardage? And then take Purdy out of the equation. Yeah, you would be telling everybody load up in the A gap, but everybody knows that they're doing it and they're loading up in the A gap and they can still do it. So I guess I'd be very eager to see one, if the Niners could in any way replicate it with they have a fullback. They also have a really hard-headed running back. Why not try it? I don't know. I mean, I would love to see it. I would love to see it because I think it's effective. And there is something about it. We're in this era now, Coach, where the refs are not blowing the whistle. That, to me, this play is all about where did the refs blow the whistle. If the refs blow the whistle right away, then you only get one try. But the way the refs ref this play, they don't blow the whistle until it seems like you get a second or third push. And at that point, it's like tug of war, and
Yeah.
So I to me, I'd be very eager to see one, how the league reacts to this down the road as far as officiating. Two, I mean, because they're stated as, hey, we don't want concussions and we don't want helmet to helmet. Everybody's going helmet to helmet in the tush push.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a QB sneak, honestly. And like I believe that the Eagles are running it because they have the bodies to do it. There's not a lot of teams that can actually go up against something that short and dynamic. Also, I've heard that the play isn't fair. It's very fair. There's wrinkles off of it. I've seen people run toss sweeps off of it. I've seen people run counters off of it. So it's not just a gadget play. It is something that you can actually, at first there was talks about banning the play because it was just so effective. It was very violent. But now that you see other things being ran off of it, you can't just say that it's a gimmick play anymore. It can actually be schemed up, right? So,
God, if you could run the toss to anybody with speed off of the tush push, you might get 6.
Yeah. If they bounced onto the outside, Alabama ran it. I saw them run the tush push and they ran a sweep with it. I saw the Ravens do it where they had the tush push and they ran like a counter and to the outside. A lot of people are bouncing outside to get to the pylon on that play. For me, I mean, if we needed to do it, I mean, copying is the biggest form of flattery. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't mind doing it. I don't think we necessarily have the personnel to do it. I would
and
not.
And what do we lack? Are you saying it's Brendel?
Jason Kelsey.
Yeah, I mean, so you're saying take Brent. What do you think of this? What do you think of a tush push group where Brendel comes off and you go with Feliciano and Feliciano at center, who's 320, and take Purdy off and throw Juszczyk in there and put an backup offensive lineman in the backfield and just go with big bodies. I mean, Harbaugh used to do it. Remember, was it Will Tukuafu?
Tukuafu. Yeah, I remember
he did it.
Do it.
And then Harbaugh loved going big bodies and big personnel. And I
like the aspect of it, but I just, it's hard for me to get that geared up for a play that's going to get us 5 yards
of the ball. I mean, if it gets you 5 yards, wow, that would be something. But yeah. But I mean, it's because the Niners. I mean, Brendel is 285. What is Kelsey? I gotta look up Kelsey. What do you think Kelsey is?
Hold on, I have their lineup right now. Travis Kelsey.
What do they list him at?
I'm trying to look at it now.
Here, I got it here. I got their
Hannibal stop.
Kelsey is 6'3", 295. That's what he looks like. And let's see what Dickerson is at left guard. He's 6'6", 332.
He's a big boy.
Yep. Jesus. See, that's why they always go in that hole, because Kelsey's built so low to the ground and Dickerson's a behemoth.
Yeah, that's another Bama boy.
Yeah. Oh, and he was a great player at Bama too, and he's plugged in at left guard. And that's the hole. It's the A gap between Kelsey and Dickerson. All right, a couple other things I want to get to. Chase Young is a free agent at the end of the year. Brandon Ayuk is a free agent at the end of the year. I know we're all focused on Philly, but let's just give ourselves, since we can do whatever we want on this show, let's look down the road. Super Bowl win, Super Bowl loss, one of these things is going to happen. The Niners are either going to the bowl or they're not. They're either going to win it or they're not. Either way, they're going to have an offseason with decisions coming up. If it came down to you could have Chase Young back but no Ayuk, or Ayuk back but no Chase Young, what direction are you going?
BA all day, not even thinking twice about it. I ain't fooled by Chase Young. He's getting an A on the group project. All right, so he's coming in here. You played with all those first-round guys in Washington, and on top of it, we would take on another guy who we'd have to pay crazy money. And pass rushers, in my opinion, are kind of starting to become like how running backs are. I think like pass rushers are being a little bit oversaturated. And that's one of the reasons why we have Chase Young not even done with his rookie deal. And he's already been traded for a 3rd-round pick to come to us in midseason, right? Like every year, we always have these conversations. What are we going to do about a pass rusher? What are we going to do about a pass rusher? And for as many options as we have and scenarios that we have on the table with pass rushers, nobody's ever saying that we don't have any, like they're not around. Dude, these guys are like laying around all the way up into the season. Pass rushers are just waiting to be picked up, right?
Saints just picked up Jason Pierre-Paul.
Right. They're just oversaturated laying around. And that's the thing about having pass rushes is that they're like exotic cars and you want them. They're nice. Everybody wants to drive a Lamborghini. Everybody wants to drive a Rolls Royce until you have to go get that $2,500 oil change. And then you're willing to leave that shit on the side of the road and go get your Tahoe because you're saying to yourself, this is nice to have, but it ain't practical on a day-to-day basis.
People don't even realize how impractical those cars really are. So my old broadcast partner drove a Bentley, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he bought it or leased it or whatever he did with it, and he got a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he got a ticket because he had no front license plate. So he brought it back to the dealership, and he's like, "Hey, I just noticed that there's no spot on the grill for the front license plate.
For license plate, yeah.
What am I supposed to do with that?" And you know what the guy at the Bentley dealership told him?
You got to pay a fine.
You're supposed to pay the tickets.
Yeah.
You gotta pay it. The look, there is no spot for a front license plate, and it's against the law to not have a front license plate. So basically, if you drive a Bentley, you just have to have enough money to be able to pay it off. Keep paying the tickets.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that is incredible. That is awesome.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like, I don't want us to get caught up on why Chase is here. Chase is here for depth, okay? Chase is also here to help spell our defensive line, all right? Chase and Randy Gregory, they're awesome additions, but the facts is that before them, our defensive line, it wasn't that our defensive line wasn't getting pressure. We were still leading the league in pressures. We weren't getting home because the guys were playing 50 plus snaps a game. Now they've cut that in half down to damn near 30 plus snaps a game, which is why these guys are getting home, because we have depth, requisite depth, right? We're not having bad players follow our very good players.
And
but
Niners are playing complementary football.
They have stamina. Right? They're not as tired. They can actually go full tilt all the time. And that's what our defensive line was last year. In the years before, when our defense was number one in the league, where we would see our entire starting defensive line resting on the sideline as we have backups come in to spell them. That's a luxury. That's not how football really works all the time. Usually your number one guys, they're playing all damn game. We don't have to do that. For me, we can still get that done without selling the farm to get a guy like Chase Young. Where BA is, in my opinion, is Brandon Ayuk is just scratching the surface. Okay, he is just scratching the surface on the type of player he can be for us. And truthfully, he surpassed Deebo Samuel as the number one receiver in this offense, right? He is the guy, as far as I'm concerned, with being the number one pass catcher and receiver on this team, and we got to pay him. Not only do we got to pay him, is I'd much rather see whoever the fuck pass rusher somewhere signed that we could just go pick up another one anywhere, right? And go get a guy, versus seeing Brandon Ayuk in Houston catching balls from CJ Stroud. Do you really have a stomach for that? Because they're looking.
Yeah, and Ayuk, I would go with Ayuk. I agree. I'd go with Ayuk. With Ayuk. Chris Asomo says, I'm more interested in re-signing Chase Young before Ayuk, to be honest. Niners, I would like Ronnie Bell to get some more opportunities. He looks good. Ronnie Bell is nice. Don't get me wrong. I like Ronnie Bell.
He's a piece.
Yeah, he's an NFL player, but he's not Ayuk. Ayuk is got long arms. Ayuk's 6'1", plays 6'4". Ayuk's faster. Ayuk's got longer arms, a bigger
catch run
radius. He's a route runner. He's durable. He runs across the middle with total conviction. Ronnie Bell, I think, couldn't take the kind of violent hits that Ayuk can take and hold on. I like Ronnie Bell.
Then on top of it, what's the number one thing that Brandon Ayuk definitely doesn't get enough credit for, but he was for sure in the doghouse about when he first started his career? He's a tremendous blocker. That's something that really helps us in proof of concept when we're trying to run the ball, right? That's one of the things why Brandon Ayuk is so special, is because, in my opinion, you've got a high-flying receiver that wants to be a number one guy, but he's doing it in an offense that does not facilitate him at all. He is completely in service of this offense, right? Because we start with running the ball. And
I love him because I don't think you can knock him out. I mean, Devontae Smith is great. But if Jair Brown, he goes across the middle and Jair Brown hits him just right, he's coming over. Out.
Yeah.
Ayuk is not – you're not knocking out Ayuk. You're not knocking out Debo. You're really not knocking out Kittle. I mean, that if you say what makes the Niners offense have teeth, it's the fact that none of their receivers really can you knock them out. They're just physical, and they look for contact. By the way, how great was the Juwan Jennings one catch for 7 yards where he beat four guys for a first down?
That was
Juwan.
Nice.
That's all desire, man. All desire.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing about Juwan. That's how he makes his money, right? He needs those plays. That's where we were trying to look for that type of effort from him in the beginning, in the former part of the season. That's why I was on top of him, no homo, where I was saying like, yo, he's not having a good season, right? Because when you have a guy that runs a 4.7, okay, and he isn't the twitchiest guy, my man, you better be blocking your ass off. You better be breaking every tackle imaginable. Man, you better be pouring water for the coaches. You better be painting the helmets. You better be doing everything. All right. And that's the reason. It's almost like, remember, I know you've seen Rudy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Remember the scene in Rudy?
Though I heard that guy, I got Notre Dame contacts who say that guy was a gigantic pain in the ass.
But look, for context though, do you remember the scene in Rudy where he finally makes the team? And when he makes the team, what does the coach say to him? If you lighten up one iota,
you're gone.
You're gone. Because that right there let Rudy know that I'm not here because of my talent. I'm not here because they like me. I'm not here because I dance well. I'm not here because of the shit I talk. I'm literally here because of 1000% my effort. That's it. I'm not even here because I'm good. I'm here because I won't quit. And that's the type of attitude that you have to have with the Jawan Jennings, right? That's the type of attitude that you have to have with a Drake Jackson. Like, yo, my man, for what it's worth, you ain't even really tipping the scales on the talent side of the game. Man, we got you here for effort. You can't afford to be lightening up. Not you. All right. So that's what we want to see out of Jawan Jennings, and I feel like we've been seeing it.
I think Drake's got more there. I know there's a lot of people that are saying he's done with the Niners or they're done with him. I think that it's a technique-rich position, and he's just a young guy who's going to get it and going to get stronger. I wouldn't give up on Drake just yet. I know there are a lot of people that already have. And there's a lot of people that feel like he'll never play another snap in a Niner uniform. I'm just not amongst that group. I think he's still a developmental player who's getting better. He didn't play a lot of college ball, and I just think that you're going to see a better player as time goes on than what we've seen thus far from Drake. All right, here's a quick question for you.
Okay, bud.
Couple angles on this thing. One, I got to get your thoughts on the 49ers in the 3 games since Chase Young has arrived have 15 sacks. Now, who would you, if I said to you, the Niners have won 3 in a row, why? Would you say they got Chase Young and it made the rest of the D-line better? Would you say they put Ambry Thomas in for Oliver and their coverage got tighter? Would you say, you know what, they eliminated their penalties on first and second down on offense and they just been running it more effectively because of it? Would you say Brock Purdy's not turning over the football like he did? Or would you say the Niners just got healthy and that's what's been the key? What has been, in your mind, the number one key to this 3-game turnaround that we've seen?
The defense is playing at an elite level. They're playing elite. They're not just playing good. They're playing elite. They're playing elite football. They're not scoring. For what it's worth, we haven't seen the best running backs, but we're doing very well against the run.
And is it more up front or more on the back end? It was like, so if you say defense, then you take away clean football health and Brock and say it's probably either Chase Young up front or Ambry on the back end or the health of Greenlaw in the middle. But would you credit more the coverage improvement or the addition of Chase? Because the one thing that's really clear is Armstead and Hargrave, since the arrival of Chase, have become far more impactful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, for me, the arrival of Chase has been impactful. But for me, I feel like it's easy to say that he's just there, and with Chase and Randy being on the defensive line, the talent that they bring is just kind of giving everybody an uptick. And I understand that they're talented players. I don't want to take anything away from these guys. Far be it for me to do that. But it really is them falling back into what we do well, and that is the depth. They brought more depth. They're giving our guys a chance to get to the quarterback. That's the problem. That's the problem that I saw with our
better depth up front.
We have better depth up front, which is giving the guys a lot more time to get to the quarterback. They're more fresh. The DBs have a lot more confidence in the back. And also Coach Wilkes, he's been mixing things up. He's been disguising our coverages a lot more pre-snap, okay? We've been seeing a lot of different fronts coming out of the defensive line where he's dropping defensive linemen out of the A-gap. Man, I saw Eric Armstead dropping in pass coverage. I saw Javon Hargraves dropping pass coverage one play. Like Givens dropped in pass coverage a couple of plays, right? He's not just making us an easy target. I feel like before, because we could be honest, albeit this defense is very good, but they're not, in my opinion, they're not as talented as last year's defense, right? Pound for pound, right? So we're not necessarily as talented as we were last year. So we do have to mix it up a little bit with protecting ourselves. Feel like last year and the years prior, we ran a very vanilla cover 3 defense. We showed you what we were doing and we dared you to beat us because we are the guys who had the players across the board to actually man up with any offense that we saw, right? We had a Jimmy Ward. We had an Azeez Al-Shaair. We had depth on the defensive line and an Emmanuel Mosley. We had 2 corners that could be exclusively by themselves and we can really mug up in the front 7. We don't have that this year. So we've had to disguise a little bit more. We've had to have proof of concept. Isaiah Oliver being taken down, and not just with Isaiah Oliver being sat down, but you could have sat down Isaiah Oliver and just literally stuck somebody in his position. But what they did is not only did they take Isaiah Oliver out, but they took Ambry Thomas and was smart enough not to put Ambry in this nickel, put him outside, right?
And I asked Ambry about that. He said he's really, I mean, he almost said, look, I'm only an outside guy.
But you know that hurts your money if you come out and just say
he pretty much said it. He's pretty much said it. I said, can you play inside? Can you play outside? He's like, I'm an outside guy.
Some guys need that sideline. They need it, right? So for me, I see those are real. Those aren't just wrinkles. Those are real adjustments, right? Bringing in Ambry and knowing we can't put this kid in nickel. He's going to struggle. And then for Deommodore Lenoir to be motivated enough to come down there and play. Who would have knew that we had a nickel and Demo the way we did? I was clearly paying attention to three people at the nickel position outside of Isaiah Oliver, of course. But for me, it was Darrell Luter Jr., it was Ambry Thomas, or it was Sammy Womack. Those were my three guys that I saw in the nickel position. I always thought that Demo was going to be exclusively on the outside. And for them to take that chance means that they didn't just guess that. They've seen that in practice. That's another wrinkle that they've put in. Again, bringing in Jair Brown to sub in for Talanoa just for one game, albeit not that much, but he did play very well. And he wasn't asked to do a lot. That's coaching. For me, we're a defensive-led team, okay? And not only are we a defensive-led team, but it's over the past 3 weeks, the 3-week losing streak, you can also say that, man, us being top 5 ain't enough. It ain't enough. The fans, us, we've let it be known that us having a top 10 defense is not enough. It's not our standard. It's even if we lose games and score 17 points, we've all seen the fan base, the head coach himself, everybody will say, well, the defense is, we got to get this defense together. So if that's what needed to be done, and the fact that we went into a bye week, took the time off to be able to bring these guys on, and on top of it, bring 2 new guys on that didn't have anything to do with the defense, with our defensive coordinator learning this defense for the first time. It's the defense, man. The defense, they got to be the standard bearers, and, they bounced back to number 1 in almost every category in one bye week. That's huge. On the road, divisional opponent. They don't care. It's this defense, man.
I love what I'm seeing from Armstead right now. I think Armstead has been reignited. I mean, think about it. When they went to the Super Bowl, he had a monster sack year, double-digit sack total, because he had Bosa on one end, and he had D Ford on the other end, and he was falling into sacks. Now he's got Chase and Bosa, and he's falling into sacks, and he's getting after the quarterback. I thought the way Armstead has played the last couple of weeks has just been absolutely unfreaking believable. And if Armstead and Hargrave can keep playing at this level, the 49ers are going to be tough to beat for anybody, anywhere. Eagles, Chiefs, home, road, Ravens. They're going to be a tough out if Armstead and Hargrave continue to play this way. Okay, Here's another one I got to ask you about. Shanahan told the sideline reporter at halftime that this game's going to be tight late.
I saw
they were
that.
up 24-3.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that something? Is that nothing? So a lot of people and a lot of Niner people were very critical, saying, hey, that's a weird thing to say. I mean, why that it's almost like he was speaking the negative into existence. Or was he my read on it is that you got him right after his halftime speech, and I didn't hear the question, but maybe the question was, hey, what did you guys talk about at halftime? What did you tell your team at halftime? Something along those lines, because it sounds like the kind of thing a coach would say to his players when they're up 24-3. Hey, guys, if we don't keep our foot on the gas pedal, this game is going to be close late. Then he jogs out on the field. The sideline reporter puts a mic in front of his face and said, Coach, what did you say to your team? And then he comes out and says, you know what? This game's going to be close late. You can guarantee it. I don't know. There was a lot of different takes on that. Some people were very critical of Shanahan for saying that.
Mm-hmm.
That was my read on it, that he just kind of re-uttered to the sideline reporter probably what he said in the halftime to in the locker room, like, hey guys, we're up 24-3, but let's not get fat and sassy, because guess what? This team could be back on us in a heartbeat. And sure enough, Seattle, what did they do? They came out and dominated the third quarter. So did you have a problem with Shanahan telling the sideline reporter that the game was going to be close late?
No, I do think it was a Freudian slip. I agree with you. It seemed like a little bit of what he was saying in private kind of slipped out in public.
Yeah.
That's what it did come out as, because that is coach speak. And really, coach speak isn't just for the fans, it's for the players too. A lot of times they don't know exactly what the stakes are, especially when you're winning. Everybody has the luxury of being okay and calm down. It's almost like I look at head coaches as like, heads of households, right? Larry, you're the head of a household. When you guys go on family
Don't tell my
trip,
wife that. She thinks she's the head.
When you go on a family trip, you're the only person not vacationing, right? Everybody's running around, splashing around in the pool, everybody going to this game, going to that amusement park. But what are you doing? Watching to see where they are. We're in a new area. Did we park here the right way? Do we have the money for this restaurant we're about to go to? Did everybody get their fobs for the hotel room? Nobody needs to be locked out. Don't talk to that man. Come over here. Don't wash your hands. Sit down. Every responsibility is on you. Even when everybody's having a blast, you are facilitating the event. That's what being the man is all about. So when you talk to the head coach and they're up, sometimes a little bit of his anxiety is going to slip out because he's always looking for how things could go wrong. Even myself, I never give this team praise unless they prove it to me. Very rarely. And when I do give them praise until they prove it to me, they always let me down and I feel like an idiot. So I get off of it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just what it is, man. You're always, and I don't think anybody should have any sometimes I feel like when we talk about comments about the team, we all forget that we're all fans, right? If anybody is rooting for this team or if anybody wants this team to win, I don't think you'll find another guy outside of Kyle Shanahan that wants that more, right? So
he needs it. I mean, he needs it to validate himself. He needs that bowl.
Yeah. So for him, I see exactly where he's coming from. It's like, bro, we're on the road. This is still a divisional game. They haven't really been doing anything on offense. They haven't even shown us who they are. So the game hasn't even contextualized itself before. This is the thing that I know about ball is that even when you have complimentary football, you still got to know that there's going to be an element of the game where they're going to get a chance to swing back. Right? They're going to get a chance to swing back. And that's what was happening with Seattle. We were just getting them off the field. Defense really wasn't having that much of a laborious game because they were stalling. So we really didn't know where Seattle's punch was going to come from. But Kyle was smart enough to understand it's coming. It's coming. We're not just going to keep these guys at 3 points. They're just going to go home. They're not going to start throwing out trick plays. They're not going to start doing things to try to generate some type of points for their fans. So I think that it was a savvy comment from Kyle. I think that
I think it also I think we're handicapping it right. I think that he probably said it to the players. The question is, why did he say it to the players? I think Kyle likes to be able to say, nothing surprises me. I'm a football czar. So it's like, hey, guys, I don't want my team to be surprised if Seattle comes back in this game. I want them to know that I envisioned it. I saw it. And that I got ahead of it, saw it coming and told them, hey, look, keep grinding.
If and when it happens,
it's not like, hey, they've made some adjustment we're not ready for. No, Kyle told us they're going to come back on us.
That is coaching, Larry. That is coaching.
Yeah. Oh,
you have to do that.
And your team, if all of a sudden a team's coming back on you and your coach hasn't said that, then you're like, oh my God, maybe their coaching staff figured out the wrinkle. Coming? Yeah, exactly. Did you see this coming? And the fact of the matter is he wants to say to his guys, they're going to make a run on us. They're going to make a run. Robbie 439 says, Kyle, respecting Pete Carroll's nothing to be outraged by. Opposite of that, clown Sirianni. Kyle keeps it classy.
I agree with this comment. Yeah. And that's another thing too. Kyle, that comment is Kyle respecting Pete. Kyle knows that, all right, I'm on the flip side. I'm up. I'm on the road. obviously playing complementary football. Our defense is getting them off the field quick. We're scoring with short fields, and we only putting up requisite points. We should have had more points. Kyle is smart enough to understand. Pete's probably in there. What is Pete saying? We've already seen their worst, right? The worst is over. All right. If we're still in this game right now, then we've taken their best blow. We need to put together a good, solid drive and just get on the field. We need to get on the points, right? Get on the scoreboard, take some time to develop a script, understand what that script gives us, and then we'll create a game plan off of the success that we've shown once we finally get a scoring drive or get down the field. So Kyle knows what Pete is probably telling these guys. We've already seen their worst, guys. Nothing to worry about. It can't get more worse than this. We're at home getting our teeth kicked in. Relax. Now we can play hard. So Kyle is probably setting his team up to say, hey, they're coming. They ain't done. They ain't done it. We got to finish their ass. Right. So that's how you coach that up. And then sometimes as fans, we kind of look at it and we get our emotions all tied into it. And it's like, they're coming back. Why would you say that? You have no faith in your team? How could you?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Kyle quit on his team. No, he didn't quit on his team. All right. Here's one. Who is, in your mind, as we sit here on the 25th of November, it's week 12. There's 17 weeks, then the playoffs, the Super Bowl's in early February. Who is, in your mind, the number one team to beat? And it's a phrase that people use. It's like, who's the favorite in your mind? Who is the team to beat? I asked this simply because I was looking at the odds last night, and the 49ers are the team that's favored to win the whole thing. Mm-hmm. That surprised me. One, because they haven't done it. Two, because the Eagles were there last year. Three, because the Chiefs won it all last year. And these teams are all there. They're all there. It's not like it's the Niners and a bunch of new kids on the block. The teams that were in the Super Bowl are standing between the 49ers and the Super Bowl right now. But Vegas says the 49ers are the team to beat. But who does the coach say is the team to beat in the entire league?
I would say the Ravens.
Ravens. Okay.
Ravens are the team to beat, man. I just
because
feel
of
like
the run game, the D, Lamar.
They're just built for the playoffs, right? I feel like the Ravens are basically the Eagles with a much better quarterback, right? Even though the Eagles have more talent, they've got more names, especially on the defense and their defensive line up front. I like the way the Ravens are built. They play for one another. They play very hard. You see them play, and you could tell that there's absolutely no egos on that team. Everybody wants everybody to succeed. And they're a 60-minute ball club. I mean, they've had some tough games against some tough opponents, and Lamar actually does very well against the NFC. I mean, he's almost has like a ridiculous record against the NFC. So for me, my biggest thing with the Ravens are they're the team to beat because they're the most playoff ready team, right? As far as once the playoff starts, that's a whole nother season of football, right? A whole nother caliber of football. You want to say the Chiefs, but I mean, we had this conversation last week. I said the Chiefs because of Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes needs those boys to catch the ball, man. Like, that was bad against the Eagles. For me, one of the reasons why I'm not saying the Eagles is because even though Patrick Mahomes and those boys lost to Philadelphia, in my opinion, Kansas City outplayed Philly. They outplayed them. They just weren't executing, right? So that's another reason why I have us beating the Eagles, because I feel like the Eagles, once they play against better teams and Jalen Hurts kind of gets slowed down, they're not as dynamic. And the Eagles are a team where they need to be dynamic. They need to score big time. If you make them go death by 1,000 cuts and turn Jalen Hurts into like a processing machine where he just has to take what the defense gives you, they're for sure going to make a mistake. They're going to get impatient. Jalen Hurts is going to do something to turn the ball over. That's just what the Eagles do. They're impatient with scoring the slow way. They want to score fast. For me, there's really three teams. It's us, the Ravens, us, the Ravens, the Chiefs, and who's my fourth team? Uh,
Ravens, Chiefs,
the,
Niners, Eagles.
yeah, Ravens, Chiefs,
I,
Niners, Eagles.
I like Lamar too, and he does. In Soul Certified says Lamar's like 18-1 against the NFC, but Lamar's also 1-3 in the playoffs. So I can't put him down. I can't put them down
That's
as
true.
the
That's
team to
true.
beat.
Like
I'm going to go
once
Kansas City just because I mean, even in this game where they lost to Philly at home, they still outgained them by 100 yards.
they
And
outplayed the Eagles. I
yeah,
thought they outplayed them.
and they had 5 sacks of Hurts. You know, Hurts has got this awesome offensive line with 2 guys headed to Canton and maybe 3 because Mailata just is a monster as well. That's a little bit of a projection, but still, I mean, they've got a great offensive line in Kansas City, led by Chris Jones, who had 2 of those 5, sacked Hurts 5 times in the first half. I'm going to say it's Kansas City just because of respect for Reed, respect for Mahomes. I can't, as much as I would love to say it's the Niners, it's not the Niners. The Niners aren't the team to beat. The Niners are still figuring out if they can get it done. And if it wasn't the Chiefs, I would probably say it's the Eagles, but I think it's the Chiefs. I think it's the Chiefs until proven otherwise. We'll see. We'll see. It's an opinion. Let me jump to the supers here, and then we're going to get on with our day.
Okay.
WS says, I still think that if Kyle doesn't start using another back more, CMC is going to get hurt, and our season is over. He's starting to use Elijah Mitchell more. I agree with Grant. I'd like to see JP Mason.
Yeah,
I don't understand why we don't see JP Mason, but
I do not know what that kid has done, but whatever
done. Yeah,
hasn't done. But it's almost getting like intentional that he's not playing.
Well, he's played. He you know what's weird? He played well and has played not at all since. Like he looked good against Dallas. What I see, and now granted, I'm not there in practice, and I'm not there, rolling through every film and looking at who's blocking who and looking for his weaknesses. I'm just looking for glimpses of talent. But what I've seen, to me, looks like a poor man's Marshawn Lynch. He runs upright. He runs hard. He's 240. He's got kind of bow-legged, explosive, powerful, can push the pile, but also has the ability. I mean, how many guys can push the pile? Literally, how many backs in the NFL can push the pile and run away from you? Not too many. Not too many. Like Dante Foreman, and there's a couple guys. This guy's one of those guys. He can push the pile and he can run over you. He can also run away from you. But for whatever reason, he hasn't earned the trust of either Kyle, Bobby T, Anthony
How many fumbles
Lynn.
does he have? I'm looking now.
I'll say this. He had at least 3 or 4 in camp. Maybe that's the issue. I don't know, but I'd love to see Mason in there a little bit. We got this one from 12 places. Do you think Tush Push will push our D line? Do you think Tush Push will push the D line?
Yeah.
Can we stop it?
No, we don't have no interior pressure to stop that.
No, I mean, you know who would have been nice? DJ Jones. If they had gotten DJ Jones, he might have been the perfect guy to counter that Tush Push because he's
I'm still not over us letting go of DJ Jones.
I'm not either. Now he did get paid a ton of money, so congrats to DJ and his family. And
he's legit good though because they're letting everything go in Denver. But for some reason, you can see that he's always off limits. They never talk about getting rid of him over there.
No,
so he's doing his job,
and he's a phenomenal person too. That's the other thing.
He was such a
great dude. Green Glass Full says sick with the flu. Thanks, Coach. Thanks, Krug. Cheered me up.
Thanks,
get better,
man.
brother.
Get better, man. Get better,
yeah,
Green.
Get better.
Man.
We're glad that we can bring you a little joy this holiday weekend. Being sick over the holidays sucks. Oh, it's awful. It's awful. Get better. My suggestion would be, if you're trying to rapidly get through anything, is put on a hat, put on thick socks, put on the warmest thing, wrap yourself in the warmest blankets you can, drink tons and tons of water. Force feed yourself to drink water, and sleep for a good 6-7 hours, and you'll probably sweat it out of your system.
You'll break it.
Yeah, you'll break it. At least whatever your sickness is, you'll accelerate your bounce back. That's at least the way we used to do it. And I know guys used to get in that steam room But obviously, most of those are public, and you don't want to bring your flu to the public steam room. But if you have a steam room in your house, yeah, that's a good one too. Load up on tons of water and hit that steam room and just sweat it out. I've seen it done. Ricky Williams says if the Eagles lose and Sirianni is a little bitch about it, I could see the NFL making this a 49er-Eagle rivalry for the next decade. Guys, I have PTSD from the Seahawks rivalry not long ago. I just can't stand Sirianni. I just can't stand him. I
just think it's unprofessional how he all right, I could see like Dan Campbell, right?
Is a man.
Thank you. He's a man. Like Dan Campbell, he takes it too far, but you can tell because it's genuine, right? He does take it too far at times, but you can see that, yeah, but that's Dan though, right? Almost kind of like he's kind of like Dan Campbell is the coach that you gotta like have like a leash tied. You gotta have a get back coach for him, just to make sure that he stays off the field, right? But with Sirianni, it just seems engineered. It seems contrived. Like, how do you find the camera during the game? Like, come on, dude. Like, you're putting on a show, and it's kind of beneath you. You're supposed to be a head coach. It's like it's Christmas times, and you're the one driving around the Christmas tree with the trike. Like the toys are for the kids, man. Sit back and let them. Like, you don't got it. You know what I mean? Like, put the bike together and sit it down. You don't got to pop wheelies in the cul-de-sac with the kids. Like, relax.
Hey, I'm going to share the screen just because let's fire ourselves up here. Here is Sirianni leaving Arrowhead last week after the Eagles upset the Chiefs.
You know what I love about that clip?
God.
Look at the guy in front of him like, fucking Sirianni. Watch this guy.
The glasses?
Yeah. Fuck. Oh, man. There we go.
Wait a second. Is it Blang? That might be Blang. Wait a second.
Look at he's like, shut up.
Yeah, that's Bob Blang. That's Bob Blang. That's Bob Blang. That's the ex-Niner PR director. Bob Blang.
Bob Lang is walking past like this fucking clown.
Bob Lang's like, this guy's a freaking clown of clowns.
It was all over his face. Like, just get inside.
Seriously.
Inside.
And you're yelling and screaming while you're in the safety of the tunnel. It's like, come on. And it's like, wait, say it on the field, bro. I just can't stand Sirianni. I just cannot stand Sirianni. Oh
yeah. That we need to have a coach cam on his ass. It's like, that's the thing about being in sports, man. Like, if I still was coaching, you know what I'm saying? I would never do something like this, right? Be able to like put myself on
become like the face of the team.
I would never do that shit. And the reason why is because, number one, it's not my personality. Two, it's disingenuous to your players. But three, that shit comes back on you. You like being the center of attention when you're at the theater, but nobody likes being the center of attention when you're at the circus, because that means you're the clown. Okay,
that's one of my favorite commercials where the guy goes, "What do you call a guy with face paint who can't get the game? A clown."
A clown. And that's the thing about Nick is like, dude, you can. It sounds good now, but when you lose, people are going to be looking for that same energy. You're going to be wondering why is it? Why is it lights, camera, action around me? Like, why is everybody wanting to hear what I have to say? It's like, because you talk too fucking much. That's why.
Yeah. Oh, God, I can't wait to see him lose. 12 places, coach, getting me hyped. Fire. Who else is ready?
Dog, I'm so ready for this game, man. Like, this is going to be the game where, like, after we play these guys, it's going to be 100% clear about where we stand. That's why I'm happy about this game.
Seriously, this game is vital for the Niners too. You got to show that you can win in Philly, and you got to knock the smug out of Sirianni. Cryptic says, hope the Niners realize at the end of the day, when they beat the Eagles, it's just a regular season game. Let's not repeat the Cowboys situation. Yeah, that's true.
We said that.
What's the game after Philly? It's Seattle at home. And
Seattle at home.
So, I mean, I don't think they'll have a hard time getting up for Seattle, but you're absolutely right, Cryptic. You can't ride the emotions of that up and down roller coaster.
But this is it, though. This is it, Larry. Like, if you think about right now, this is going to prove everything that we said that was wrong. As far as the team is concerned, they're going to have a chance to prove that, all right, you said all that shit during your post run during the Super Bowl, that the game wasn't the right way, that you guys would have won if the quarterback would have been healthy. Now we get a chance to see it.
Yep.
Now we get a chance to see. You know what I'm saying?
It's on right now. Jesus Martinez says, I'm tired of the Purdy is enough narrative. Purdy has shown he's more than just enough. He's been proving me wrong. Okay. He has been playing well. Straight Trucking says Kyle is good, but McDaniel might be better play designer. McDaniel? Oh, Mike McDaniel. I thought he was talking about Josh McDaniel.
Josh McDaniel. Lord.
Yeah. Josh McDaniels may never get another coaching gig again. I hope he keeps that money.
And you know what? He deservedly so, man. How are you going to suck and be smug? Turning down. He's turned down coaching jobs.
Well, Antonio Pierce is showing that, hey, look, if you get a real solid guy in there that's a leader of men, that guy, the Raiders have more talent than they showed this year.
They're loaded.
Yeah. We got this one from Robbie439. He says the best move John Lynch made last season that no one talks about was extending Dre Greenlaw. Yeah,
that was a sneaky good one too.
Very good move
because he didn't wait on that either.
Right, and he got a good price. Greg Argisi says exactly. Chase is essential. Says use your head coach.
I don't know about that, guys. Like I feel like Chase's role is essential, but you
got to have four guys. You can't have a high price security system and leave the garage door open. And that's what they were doing, having Kerry Hyder and just guys out there. You got to have a real defensive end. It doesn't have to be Chase Young.
Right.
You got to have a real defensive end. And I agree with you.
It's got to be a real guy.
If it comes down to Ayuk or Chase, I'm going Ayuk.
Have to.
And then we got Quincy Jacinto. Do you guys think Chase Young or Brandon Ayuk is worthy of the franchise tag? Would you franchise either guy? What's the franchise number for both those positions is going to be massive.
Through the roof. I
mean,
that might not be. Receiver is going to be like north of 25.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That's probably not going to fit the budget. That would be my guess. Riddy Musich, hey Riddy, he says Jair Brown is going to be crucial with Hurts balls this coming game. Yeah. I'll say this. I love the one thing we haven't talked about is the Luter play that saved the touchdown on the Eskridge, and then the Womack return where he downed the ball at the 2. And then you throw in Ambry and Jair and Luter's athleticism at that size and Womack. Suddenly the 49er defensive backfield has some youth, some energy, some life. I wasn't sure, Coach, if they were going to activate Womack and Luter or if it was going to be an either or. They've actually activated both of them. And I haven't seen Luter play from scrimmage. You haven't either, really, because we haven't seen it since minicamp. And what's minicamp? But I'll say this, just watching him run down Eskridge at that size makes me very, very excited about Luter's potential, because that's a big, long, rangy guy who can move.
To Kyle's credit, Kyle, when asked, and we all know, sometimes the guys like to take credit for sometimes some happy accidents. But to Kyle's credit, Kyle looked us square in the eye after the trade deadline, and he said that we have our answers in the building. He said that.
Yeah.
When they asked about corner, when we asked about what we were going to do with our DBs, he said that we have the answers in the building. He said, I feel like we got some guys that aren't healthy. We got some guys that haven't been necessarily put in this position yet that are trying to find their way. And we are looking for the buy. Not necessarily a new player, but they were more interested in getting into the buy to be able to get some proof of concept with what they have on their roster and to kind of get some fundamentals back down. I feel like the boys wasn't necessarily doing their jobs well. Nothing, and that has nothing to do with talent. That has a lot to do with the coaching that they're taking. And are they seeing the coaching on the field? Right? There's a lot of stuff that I refuse to believe that they were coaching up in practice, and all of a sudden we just don't see it on game day. It don't work that way. And I'm starting to see the guys finish. Another guy that I mean, not to kind of get off topic, but to get off topic, somebody else who we have not talked about, who, because this guy gets so much love and he's always seen as a leader, we don't necessarily look at him as actually needing to get better. But Fred Warner. Fred Warner has been a night and day difference from his play in the first half of the season to where he is now. Fred is a willing tackler. He's tackling guys on his own. He's becoming an asset rather than cleaning up on gang tackles. Fred has always been an animal in pass coverage, but he's just being more physical. He's actually coming downhill, meeting guys behind the line of scrimmage, and coming with the attitude on top of it. That's something that, we weren't necessarily seeing out of Fred. So
he's turned it up.
He has turned it up. And Dre too. I mean, with Dre, I feel like Dre just needed to get healthy, right? Dre was absolutely banged up before the bye. But from what I'm seeing right now, defensively, especially with bringing the guys in with our defensive backfield, is scheme. I feel like we're not sitting ducks or sitting targets anymore with how we're disguising what we're doing. Run fits. Guys are actually coming in and doing their job, taking onus in what they need to do, and confidence, man. I mean, for what it's worth, we've been up here for an hour and 35 minutes. We have not talked about Javarius Ward one time.
Javarius Ward, oh my God, he was great.
Javarius Ward had the game of his career.
Yeah,
my God,
that was DK Metcalf. He was the answer to DK Metcalf, and he has thorough dominance on DK because, the Mooney can be beat if you have double moves and you're really, really creative down the field in your routes. And he has a hard time with guys who have size, speed, and they have like double move ability. But for DK, who runs a lot of go patterns, man, and you kind of know where he's going to be. And it's just about, can you match his physicality? Yeah. Mooney Ward was tremendous. Now, a couple of those were bailed out because Gino threw the ball out of bounds. Like one time, DK had a full step and a half on him, and if the throw was inbounds, probably was a touchdown, but it was out of bounds. So he benefited there from Gino, and Hurts will throw that pass inbounds to AJ Brown. So there's no question. I'll hold off until next week on saying how great Mooney is, because I think this is going to be the game. Is the bigger challenge, but he owns DK. I'm with
you 100%, Larry. One of the reasons why I wanted to make a whole video on Mooney Ward. He had me on my seat. He had me out of my seat the entire
he's great.
Day.
He loves DK. He loves going against DK too. He knows.
He gets geared up
exactly where.
Well, DK got his best too. So they've gone back and forth. This is a real rivalry. This hasn't been all one-sided, right? No. So
I mean, DK's a big, talented athlete, man.
Yeah, but he ain't AJ Brown.
No. How about this? This is a fact. DK Metcalf had a slower 3-cone time than Tom Brady. I mean, that is hard to believe.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Is that amazing or what? Tom Bueno says, did you guys see Purdy check out 2 passes twice during the drive where he threw his pick 6? Is Kyle giving him more control of the offense? Well, it's an interesting thing. Purdy talked about the tip pass near the end zone that resulted in a easy 12-yard pick 6 for Jordan Brooks. The Niners went on to win 31-13, but obviously that was the big negative play. Here's what Purdy said after the game. He said, obviously, we're up by 3 touchdowns, and then we just give them one like that. So now it's a 2-score game. So now it's real, and the game is back into play. It felt in terms of them being back in the game. So for myself, I've got to be smart with the ball, but at the same time, I still got to have that aggressive edge to myself and not be afraid to rip stuff in tight windows still and move the ball, get first downs, and score touchdowns. That's where I was at my mindset moving forward. Obviously, it sucked going through it. I've got to learn from it. But in terms of who I am and playing this position, that can't change. So that's what I had to keep telling myself. So Purdy went in the second half only 6 of 10 in the second half. He made the most, of course, his last pass of the game, a 28-yard dime to Brandon Ayuk in the fourth quarter with 7:50 left to play to give the Niners the the separation they needed on the scoreboard. But Kyle was asked about the ball to Ayuk, and he said, I couldn't believe he was throwing it. The zone coverage guys were so deep, which usually you can check it down right underneath them and get about 12. But Brock thought he could drop it in over the guy, and it was clear. It was a clear view for all of us and a hell of a throw. Perfect touch, got it over him, and that was a big play that sealed it. Shanahan even acknowledged that wasn't the read he had in mind. He said, yeah, we're all holding our breath as soon as he lets it go because the guy was so deep. But Brock's got the touch, and he was able to throw it over him. He made the throw, and I wouldn't have known it until he threw it. But once he threw it, it obviously was there. So, yeah, I mean, this is going to be the constant back and forth between, hey, be patient, be aggressive. Be patient, be aggressive. Be smart with the football, win games, be aggressive. You don't want to become Captain Checkdown, but at the same time, you don't want to become Reckless Randy out there either, where you're just throwing it around. So,
but I also see that too as well. It's like
Brock's a little reckless.
That's what I'm saying. And I feel like a little bit of Brock's recklessness is because he does want to prove that he can make certain throws when he sees them. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that that's just the maturation process that we're going to have to coach out of Brock. Right. We're going to have to love him through that. Like, dude, you don't need to be insecure about who you are on this team. You're our guy. Okay. But don't hurt us. Don't push the ball and put the ball in harm's way just because you're trying to play outside of your frame. Now,
there's a time to go for it, but there's also a time to be patient. And he completed that pass, but he probably the smarter play to win the game would be if they're going to play that deep in the zone, take the check down for 12 yards and remain patient. So that would be, I mean, I asked him about it.
I don't want to coach that out of Brock though. I don't want to coach that out of him, honestly. Because
it's part of what makes him him.
Yes, right.
So I asked him about it, Coach. I said, hey, how do you balance stay aggressive versus play smart? And he gave me a long answer, but he admitted that he's not there yet. It's like he's not arrived yet, that it's a constant balancing act between be smart, it's a mindset, but be aggressive and really let it rip. And these are almost contradictory thoughts. So it's like it's a balance. It's a constant balance. You've seen it. Derek Carr has thrown, the ball into the turf on fourth down on the final play of the game. Well, that's not going for it enough. But then there's the guy who's up 10 points who throws it into harm's way, and maybe that's too aggressive. So it's all about game situation, where you are at in the game. But to me, that's the position in a nutshell. The balancing aggressive, make a play with conservative, and don't make a negative play.
Yeah, I understand that as well. I feel like the more Brock plays, that's going to be more of his decision to make rather than anybody else's. And I don't have a problem with it. I mean, still one thing that I'm excited about with Brock is that I still feel like we're looking at him with final eyes. Like we know what we have in a quarterback, and I feel like we have no idea how good Brock can get. Right? He's just in his second year. Right? He already knows how to operate the offense. And now he's gotten past the offensive. He's gotten past the blueprint learning side of it. He's gotten past the physical side of it. He knows that he's enough to play with these boys. Now he just needs the reps. He needs the scenarios under his belt. Right? And that's where you start to see the savvy quarterbacks who know what to do in certain, because the game is just tons of scenarios mashed up together, honestly. Right. And that was just a scenario where sometimes we see Brock not necessarily understanding where he is inside of that narrative. Right. Where do I need to be the aggressor right now, or do I need to sit back and simply just facilitate? And you can only answer those questions with reps. Right. So I'm okay with what we've seen with Brock. Like, it was a bad pick, albeit I feel like he should have threw a pick. The pass before he threw a pick, I felt like should have been a pick. The pass prior. Right. So, you could see it coming, right? Where he was saying to himself, we're in deep. We're in the shadow of our own goalpost. We got to flip the field and we got to get a drive going. My biggest thing right now isn't to necessarily push the ball downfield, but I got to get the ball into my guys' hands, right? And in the course of doing that, sometimes he's got to understand that when you are in the shadow of your own goal line, man, the best thing that you could be doing right now is just moving the ball forward. I would have even took him just taking a sack right there, or just running forward, right? Falling at the line of scrimmage. But you don't throw a lollipop pass in the green zone of your opponent. You don't do that. So,
and once again, it fits the same description. It's kind of late, kind of over the middle. It's a late and over the middle, never is good. Never is good. Greg says Ayuk is essential. I'm just saying Chase equals D Ford times 2. Yeah, no, there's no doubt. I think we're all in agreement on that. I want to share the screen before we get out of here because there's 2 things I want to show you, and I love both of them. One, this was, I think, the best perspective I've heard on Brock, and it came from Richard Sherman. And here it is from here's Sherm talking the other day. Here's Sherm.
This is still a second-year quarterback. They scrutinize this guy like he's been in the league for a decade. He's a second-year guy, and he's playing outstanding. His touchdown-to-interception ratio is enormous. If he was a top 5 pick, they'd be talking about him with Patrick Mahomes and as the face of the league in the future. But since he's the last pick, all people can say is that they're waiting for the fall-off. And it's been a year and a half of consistency from this young man. Either way, if he somehow takes this San Francisco 49ers team to a Super Bowl and wins it, he's going to take what he deserves because he don't have to ask anymore.
Yeah. I love that one because it's, it does really paint the picture of Brock. I think there are a lot of people, let's be honest, there were a lot of people that just weren't sure if Brock is for real. I think we now know he's for real. The question is, where's it going to go from here? And I think that's your point that you just made that you know what? We don't know where this is going, and we don't know what this guy's going to become. Is he a for real NFL quarterback? Yeah. Yeah, he's a for real NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
The question is, how good can you win it all? Can you win it all with him, or is he stopgap? The other one I got to show you here, and this one I love as well.
And I'll say this about Brock too, man.
Go ahead.
One thing about Brock is that he's not gonna fall off. There's no fall off. Like you can't fake quarterback in certain areas of the game, right? And the kid knows the game, all right? He sees the game. And honestly, that right there, being able to see the field and knowing where to go with the ball, that's like 80% of the job. That's how hard quarterback is that they actually put guys in the position who can't even do that. But they just throw the ball really well and they're athletic and they know how to go through the motions. But Brock is a real quarterback. So there is no fall off, right? Right now, we're just trying to see if Brock is going to be great, if Brock is just going to be a normal starter in the league where the NFL is going to get a beat on him, or is Brock a franchise guy? Like that's really the real conversation now. But anybody saying that, oh, I'm waiting for Brock to just suck.
Yeah,
you got some emotional issues.
Probably not. It's just probably not going to happen. I got to show you one more here. I'm sharing the screen on one of my favorite people. This is Marshawn Lynch. This is what Marshawn's about. I'm going to play this right here. Mm-hmm. Love it. And way to go, Marshawn. I'll stop sharing on that one. But we need a world where more people take the time to say, man, I'm fortunate. And what can I do today to help out? And Marcus Peters and Marshawn and some of these guys who live in the Bay here have done some things. My son, one of the jobs that my third son does is he volunteers to or works. It does not all volunteer. Sometimes he gets paid to work at these events where companies put on a little carnival or whatever. And it's paid for by guys like Marcus Peters and Marshawn Lynch. And guys who are you know what? The kids in the neighborhood need to have some joy, need to have a little carnival. And so then they get some teenage kids like my son and others to come out and run the rides and help out with, and they'll do a little carnival kind of a movable, it's carnival that kind of moves from community to community. And they do this on the weekends. Anyway, we just need more of that. We just need more of that. So I wanted to highlight that because that's just, to me, that's what this is all about. At the end of the day, what are we talking about? We're giving our opinions on football. People are entertained by it. And the NFL has become bigger and more expensive and more, it's bigger. But guys like Marshawn, who grew up, had a dream, lived it, had an NFL career, made some money, now are maybe a little bit more comfortable than many of the people that they know are like, hey, you know what? I'm giving back. I'm going to give back to my community. And I just, if I could, I would highlight stuff like that all day and all night.
Well, that's what all of this is about, Larry. I love these segments that we do near the end of every show where we just kind of tap into the human element of why we're even here in the first place, right? Football is a family endeavor, right? It's entertainment. How much is a Super Bowl trophy really worth? How much is a Super Bowl ring really worth? Bullshit. It ain't worth anything. Right. Nobody's a champion of anything. All right. This is a made up game with a made up league with rich guys, 32 rich guys who have us all thinking that it's more important than
it ain't life. Really it's a diversion. It's a diversion. It's a pleasant diversion, but it's a diversion.
Yeah. So I like videos like this because you get to see the true elixir of what makes these guys special. Marshawn Lynch isn't special because he's beast mode and he says, I'm here so I won't get fined. That's not who his character is. That's not who he is through the lens of what the NFL wants him to be seen as. That is who Marshawn Lynch is. You can't fake that type of stuff, right? The reason why Marshawn Lynch and Marcus Peters and these boys can walk around Oakland with no security and literally walk up and down the street as multimillionaires with the fear in Oakland, by the way, we talking about the trenches, okay? For them to be able to walk around scot-free, that's when you got a heart of pure gold. That's when people who know you class personified. And that's honestly what I love about the game. Like, yeah. The games are cool, the graphics and everybody talking about Super Bowls, and we can get up here and talk about stats, but
it's about community, man. It's about community.
It really is.
Community.
It's about family.
And come on, man. It's 2023. We all know there's a lot of shortcomings in our communities. We don't have enough of anything. We don't have enough resources to go around. And I just can't say enough. And when we get this one from Elite Archer 23, think you missed my super chat, Larry. Oh, did I? I'm sorry if I did. Let me go back. I think I kept them all here. Elite Archer. No, I got it. I read it earlier. Mm-hmm. I definitely read it because I clicked to my.
You might have missed it, Elite. You might have missed it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go back and watch though. For sure, I got it. But I appreciate you. And then we have Josh Edwards here. He says, last year I was happy to watch Brock Purdy in all a Cinderella story. This year I'm becoming a Brock Purdy believer, but I'm scared. Jimmy PTSD. Yeah, and believe me, everybody who talks about doubting Brock usually brings up either Cap or Jimmy and says, hey man, I believed and then I got burned. So you just remember this. They're all different people. You go out with that crazy girl. Don't think that the next date you go on, the girl's crazy. It is not fair to her. Yeah. Kenny Thoen 7705, not a super, but says, love you, Krueg. Your voice brings back some of my best memories as a kid traveling around the San Joaquin Valley with my dad, listening to you on KMBR 680 with the Razor and Tommy, etc. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Glad we could bring you a little joy during this holiday season. That does it for us. Good stream today. Coach, what do you got going on this Saturday? A lot of really good college ball today. I mean, if you're a college fan today, I mean, this is the day. Ohio State, Michigan. Michigan's right now leading in the third quarter, 14-10. But you got good rivalries. Louisville, Kentucky's going on. LSU and A&M. A&M's got a 24-21 lead.
You know what game I'm
over LSU? Bama, Auburn, the Iron Bowl, 12:30. 12:30. Who's going to win the Iron Bowl?
Bama, dog. We going Bama 10-1 versus. This isn't a typical
14-point spread.
Bowl. Yeah, it's not a typical Iron Bowl. This is a down year for Auburn, but I love the Iron Bowl games. It's always something. Something's always bound to happen when Bama and Auburn play.
Arizona State. That's a big one. Vandy and Tennessee.
Rivalry week? This is rivalry week, right?
Yeah. Wazoo, the Apple Cup, Wazoo and Michael Penix in Washington. That's later on today. Florida State in Gainesville. Notre Dame, Stanford down on the farm at 4:00. Georgia G-Tech in Atlanta. Clemson, South Carolina. North Carolina, NC State. The Egg Bowl was Thanksgiving. Ole Miss beat Mississippi State 17-7. Oregon State. Oregon beat Oregon State 31-7 yesterday. So yeah, lots of good rivalry games around the country going on today. Good college football as the regular season winds down. Coach, have a phenomenal Saturday. Do we have another one here? I think we have one more here. Let's see. Yep, I think we have this one. We can get this one. Juan says, "I'm sorry, I love CMC, but Brock Purdy is the real MVP of this team. CMC is kind of a spam button you can't press on the field. Kind of like the tush push. CMC is a facilitator. Brock Purdy is making it all possible." Well, it's a perspective.
That is an interesting take.
Some people would agree. Some people would say, no. It's all. I'll say this. CMC, and I don't have it in front of me, but the Niners, I think he scored. Here it is. CMC, listen to this one, Coach. We'll finish with this stat. In 25 games with the 49ers, he scored 29 touchdowns. He has been amazing. So I probably would lean towards Purdy, but you know what? CMC has been on another level. And my argument why Purdy's more valuable has more to do with Sam Darnold's up next as opposed to J.P. Mason and Elijah Mitchell are up next. So I think the drop-off from Purdy to Sam's massive, but CMC is incredibly valuable to the 49ers. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krueg Show. Thanks to New York Style Italian Sausage. Everybody hit like and subscribe over at the Coach's channel and give him all the love and support that he needs. Thanks to New York Style Italian Sausage. Thanks to Underdog Fantasy and Mojo Fantasy. For the Coach, I'm Larry. Have a great Saturday, everybody. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get